Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers, and we're moving on. We should probably should have done this episode that we're doing right now before the FBI one that came out, but what are you going to do, you know? It's officially the end of the Public Enemy era gangsters that we did. We did all four. Well, we did 3 Public Enemies, and this will be the 4th and final one.
yeah,
Him and his gang, all about Alvin Karpis and his Karpis Barker Gang,
Karpis Barker.
which were the
He had a cool name.
Karpis Barker Gang.
Yeah,
It was one of the longest-lived criminal gangs during the Depression era, which spanned from 31 from 31 to 35. The gang got to start when Alvin Karpis and Fred Barker met while incarcerated in a Kansas prison.
Nice.
Well, the two would go on to commit store robberies, bank robberies, and eventually move into kidnapping.
Obviously, once you're done the route, you got to kidnap
you gotta
somebody.
Kidnap. This is the next step in the old
Robbing stages.
The
Now
criminal,
you're robbing people.
The criminal, right?
Right on stuff to rob.
You're
start robbing people.
Physically stealing. You're stealing physical people now. Barker and Karpis were meticulous in their planning and often added additional individuals who had specific types of hold-up skills,
Right.
or other criminal experience needed for a job. Look at these guys hiring out. Who's the best driver? Who's the best whatever? You know,
I guess, man.
Gunman.
You got to keep it. You keep it fresh.
Right. Well, 1932, Karpis could name 11 banks they had robbed, but the number was probably higher than that.
Most likely.
By rotating their members, this caused greater difficulty for the FBI in apprehending them.
The first paragraph on this story here is already more organized than the
I was
last.
gonna say, I was
15 people we
literally just thinking that, like, how does this guy sound more smart than
Right.
all these Dillinger, Nelson, Bonnie, Clyde, all those guys?
Crazy.
Crazy.
I'm digging it. Mm-hmm. Well, Karpis was born to Lithuanian immigrants John and Anna Karpavicius, maybe?
Karpavicius,
How you say Lithuanian names? I don't know. Karpavic with the V on the top. IUS.
That means you got to pronounce it a certain way, and I don't know what that way is.
Anyway, he was born in Montreal, Quebec, and was raised in Topeka, Kansas. Well,
Okay,
that's a
hell of a move.
that's 2 different environments there, eh? He started in crime at the age of 10.
Okay,
Running around with gamblers, bootleggers, and pimps. Nice.
is that what they always do?
All right. 1926, he was sentenced to 10 years at the State Industrial Reformatory.
Okay, so he was born in 1907.
Right, in
So
1926.
he was 19 here when he
19.
got sentenced.
10 years at the Industrial Reformatory.
Isn't that about the usual age, too? Didn't Dillinger
so.
and Babyface, it was about 18, 19 when they got their
19.
first
All right.
sentence.
All right. Anyway, this was in Hutchinson, Kansas, where he was imprisoned
Yes.
for an attempted burglary.
Attempted.
Attempted. He got 10 years for attempted. Wow. He escaped with another inmate, Lawrence Duvall, and went on a 1-year-long went on a year-long crime spree, interrupted briefly while he lived with his parents after Duvall was arrested. After moving to Kansas City, Missouri, he was caught stealing a car and sent back to the reformatory. Transferred to the Kansas State Penitentiary in Lansing, he met Fred Barker.
And there it is. He was in prison for burglary.
Bank robbery.
Well, Barker, meanwhile, was one of the notorious members of the Bloody Barkers at this time, as the
Nice.
newspaper of the time called them. Fred Barker was born to George Elias and Arizona Donnie Clark Ma Barker.
So she's Ma
Barker. In Aurora, Missouri on December 12, 1901.
1901.
The family moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1912, and Barker's older brothers, Herman, Lloyd, and Arthur, were committing crimes throughout his childhood, belonging to a gang of local delinquent youths called the Central Park Gang. So,
This guy's a little bit older than old Karpis, so he got a little bit more.
and Freddie has a bunch of brothers that are doing crimes already, so it's pretty inevitable that he's going to end up in it, right?
Right. The gang met in the park to plan crimes and stash their stolen goods. There, Barker met future members of the Barker-Karpis Gang, including Volney Davis. He was first arrested and imprisoned in 1927 for, you guessed it, burglary.
So what, the same year?
1927?
26, Karpis was, so
27.
1 year later.
While in prison, he met Alvin Karpis.
Yes, yeah.
According to Karpis, Barker was a dominant figure in jail who was able to obtain marijuana and other perks.
Okay, good.
That's
good.
alcohol and
Well, of course,
cigarettes.
he had his criminal brothers and shit with him,
Right.
and stuff with him.
Some McDonald's, if they had
Right.
it in 1927. Karpis also said he was a natural-born killer who never hesitated. You hesitate, you die. Unlike Karpis, nicknamed Creepy Karpis. Creepy Karpis. Dang. Barker was known for his personal charm.
Oh, dang.
This guy's a charmer.
Creepy Karpis.
You got the creepy guy and the charming guy.
Creepy Karpis.
So I take it Barker...
That's what he looked like, so he does look like a little creepy guy to me.
Right, so Barker got laid more than Alvin.
Pretty much is what that means. Well, after their release in 1931, Barker and Karpis joined up to commit a string of burglaries in Kansas, often collaborating with other local criminals. They brought the locals in on it and stuff. Look at these guys. Several notable gangsters joined the Barkers in various crimes, including Harvey Bailey, Frank Nash, Fred Goetz, and Dr. Joseph Moran. Frank Nash. They were accompanied by Ma Barker and her boyfriend, Arthur Dunlap, who they sometimes called Dunlap. Or Dunlap.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Newspapers spelled it Dunlap sometimes, but it's Dunlap.
Dunlap.
Yeah.
Arthur. Artie. Why would they call him Artie?
Well, I don't know.
Maybe
little timeline of the crimes. On July 25th, 1932, Barker-Karpis, Duvall, and Jesse Doyle and Earl Chrisman robbed the Cloud County Bank at Concordia, Kansas, and made off with about $250,000 in cash and bonds.
Yeah, how they cash in the bonds, though? They sell them off to people and they can cash them in somehow?
I don't know. How would you do that?
Right. 18th. Oh, yeah.
Well, on the 18th of August, they pulled a second job at the Second National Bank of Beloit, Wisconsin, for $50,000. So they got $300,000 in their pocket in a matter of a month.
Right. And only $50,000 though. They're probably disappointed about that one.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Right. December 19th, 1933, they killed Howell County, Missouri Sheriff Kelvin Roy Kelly in West Plains, Missouri. They fled to Joplin and then to St. Paul, Minnesota, where Barker, his brother Arthur, Karpis, and Lawrence Duvall robbed the Third Northwestern National Bank in Minneapolis. Duvall killed policeman Ira Leon Evans and policeman Leo Gorski during their escape, while Barker murdered Oscar Erickson, a passing motorist. Wow.
They fled to Joplin. They robbed the Third Northwestern National Bank
in Minneapolis
and killed some cops and just a passing guy who's driving by. I'm going to shoot him too.
Hey,
Well, Barker and Karpis were also suspected of killing Dunlap, an alcoholic whom they considered to be untrustworthy after someone tipped police to the gang's hideout.
Ooh.
According to other members, Dunlap was also abusive to Ma.
Oh no, you can't be abusive.
You can't be abusive to Ma. Crime boss Harry Sawyer.
That's Barker's mom, right?
Yeah.
And he's allowing that?
Well, they killed him, apparently. So, no, he didn't allow it. Crime boss Harry Sawyer, who was born Harry Sandelovich, found them at a house at 1031 Roberts Road, owned by Helen Hanegraaff.
His name was Harry Sawyer, but he was born Harry Sandelovich.
Right. They used the name Anderson, but a few weeks later, Helen's son, Nick, recognized Alvin and Fred's photos in a copy of True Detective magazine and contacted the police. Well, the corrupt chief of police, Thomas A. Big Tom Brown,
Big Tom,
tipped the Barkers off, and they left town.
I told Big Tom, you shouldn't have done that. Stupid. Why? Them boys are already gone.
And just after that, April 4th, 1933, Fred and Arthur Barker, Alvin Karpis, and gang robbed the Fairbury, Nebraska bank. So they're on the run. And they're still robbing banks. Look at these guys.
And now they're going north, south, east. They're
going everywhere in the Midwest, man.
I like it. The gang continued their bank robbing activities until mid-1933.
Yes, they did.
When they decided that robbing banks was becoming risky.
You think?
They're like, you think this is a little risky?
You think this is a little risky? Yeah. Shouldn't we be doing this?
Right. And therefore decided to diverge into field of kidnapping. 1933, on the same weekend as the Kansas City Massacre.
What you guys heard all about?
They kidnapped William Ham, a millionaire Minnesota Brewster.
William Brewster.
A millionaire Minnesota brewer. The Minnesota brewer outside of his house was moited. His office. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. He wasn't murdered.
Oh, they kidnapped the guy.
They napped him. Right. They didn't nap him. They kidnapped him.
They kidnapped
him. They didn't nap him.
Right, now they're stealing humans. After the gang was paid a ransom of $100,000, guess what? You get to go, guy.
Oh, look at them. They got their money and they let them go. Good for them. Good. What a noble gang. Right. What a noble gang these guys are.
Yeah, lucky old William Ham was left to be. He still got to be in the story, though.
Old Billy Ham.
So somehow William Ham must have went to the police for this story to be known.
I'm assuming,
unless Karpis is telling all this.
I'm sure they know. I'm sure they had a ransom, so the police already knew.
Yeah, who do they give a ransom to?
His family, which I'm sure the police were contacted.
Yeah, but it's William Ham's money.
You know how the note always says no cops.
Right, no cops.
They're wiretapping phones and shit. Like, guys, the note specifically said no cops.
No
I
cops.
was like, well, we're just doing our job, man.
Right.
Shortly after this, they abducted St. Paul banker Edward Bremer,
Bremer.
who was released after the gang was paid $200,000 by his family. They're releasing and getting their money. They're getting their money and releasing.
Right.
Well, those kidnappings, however, led to the gang's end.
Of course it would. When you start kidnapping people.
Right. When you start stealing people.
Right. When you start stealing people, you're done. You're done. I mean, that's it, guys. We can allow you to get some banks.
Well, see, this is where they screw up, because the father of kidnapped Edward Bremer was a friend of President Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Oh, you don't mess with friends of Franklin.
Roosevelt had even mentioned the kidnapping in one of his fireside chats.
Oh, geez, he mentioned it? Oh, it's over with.
And fueled also by the Lindbergh kidnapping, the FBI and local police bureaus greatly stepped up their pursuit of those engaged in these types of crimes. They say ain't no kidnapping's famous people at least gonna happen on our watch.
No.
Well, the FBI had by this time organized a group of highly skilled agents called the Flying Squads, which specializes in hunting down the leading public enemies, and they've been very effective, which we've seen so far.
They knew what they were doing. Knew what they were doing. One of the gang's major undoings was when they killed their own gang member, George Shotgun Ziegler. Ziegler, who had been one of the Bremer kidnapping masterminds, began to brag about the kidnapping to several underworld associates.
That's what you just don't. You don't
dumb,
do that, especially to other underworld associates. I mean, of course they're gonna come. Hey, man, your boy's got a big mouth, and you might want to get rid of him.
Right. Or if one of those other gang members get busted by the police, they'll be like, "Hey, man, you let me go if I let you in this little bit of information." Anyway, telling them that he was the genius behind the kidnappings. He's like, guess what, guys, what we did? And it was all
I thought of it all. It was all me.
You want to know where we hid everything?
Screw Karpis and Barker. I'm the mastermind.
Right. As a result, his fellow gang members shot 4 slugs into Ziegler as he was coming out of his favorite restaurant in Cicero, Illinois.
Cicero?
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 Anyway,
Cicero?
In Illinois. On March 22nd, 1934, they're like, enough's enough, and it's time for a change.
Well, see, this next thing you're about to say, we were just talking about at the beginning how these guys seem like they're smart.
And then they got stupid. They let their anger get a hold of them. Well, guess what they did? They left the body. You never leave the body.
You never leave the body.
FBI agents found names, aliases, addresses, and other valuable information in Ziegler's pockets. And why did they clear his pockets?
Idiots.
Soon leading to the deaths or capture of the main members of this very gang.
Idiots, man. Wow. I mean, can't be any more sloppy than that, can you?
Right.
Wow. Well, with the FBI in pursuit, Barker and Karpis attempted to get plastic surgery to alter their appearance and remove their fingertips.
Oh, shit.
Or fingerprints.
Nice.
The procedure was carried out by Moran, an underworld doctor. The operations were so painful that Fred asked one of his friends to shoot him to stop the pain, but his friend refused.
He's like, no, man.
Come on, man. You can't do this. We need you.
Right.
This is called the Karpis Barker Gang, dude.
Right. Moran or however you want to say it, Moran, disappeared shortly after doing the procedure. A badly decomposed body was discovered a year later, washed up from Lake Erie on Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. Police identify it. You guessed it. Mr. Moran. 1971, Karpis wrote in his autobiography that the identification was mistaken.
Okay.
He claimed that Moran had been murdered by the Barkers and then buried in a lime pit in Michigan. It's like, no, that can't be true. Unless that lime pit goes out into the water.
I was going to say, the killing part's true, but he didn't wash up on Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. That's for sure.
No way. The only way if they found him if they're digging for lime in the pit.
Well, the most accepted version of the tale, though, is that Karpis and Fred Barker took Moran on a boat ride on Lake Erie, during which they both murdered him. He was killed either for his bot surgery or for shooting his mouth off about the gang in a brothel. Oh, come on. I thought you guys were smarter than this. You can't be associating with people like this.
Right.
Well, the last time Moran was seen alive was at a brothel in which he drunkenly bragged, "I have you guys in the palm of my hand." Oh, that's the wrong thing to say to these guys.
Yeah.
Well, he left the bar with Karpis and Barkis. It was never seen Karpis and Barker, and was never seen again.
Ooh, I mean, come on, guy got a little cocky.
Come on, Moran, you can't be just shooting your mouth off like that, man.
He had a girl riding him and a beer in one hand, and he's just on top of the world, and he looks at them two guys and was like, you know what? I got you guys right here.
He's like, right here in the palm of my hand without me.
Right.
Or I could tell on you guys right now. You guys give me anything I want, or else
Anything.
it's to the slammer you go.
And they're like, don't worry,
They're
you
like,
got it.
They're like, yeah, you're right, buddy. Let's go to my house. We have more drinks there.
All right. 1934, November 27th. Babyface Nelson was the public enemy #1 at this very time. He was mortally wounded in a gun battle with the FBI and died later that night.
Sure did.
The very next day, Alvin Karpis was declared public enemy #1.
Alvin Karpis. So here he is.
And the fourth and last to ever be named public enemy. The last public enemy.
The last public enemy.
After this, the gang attempted to launder the ransom money, though this proved to be difficult because the serial numbers had been recorded by the FBI, obviously, a fact that soon became known to the gang.
Yeah, you can't launder tracked money. Doesn't go so well for you. Well, while Harry Sawyer traveled to Cuba to launder the money, his wife Gladys and Fred's girlfriend Paula were arrested for drunken, disorderly behavior at a hotel in Cleveland. Paula had a mental breakdown while being questioned and was returned to her family in Texas. Barker moved to Cuba with his brother, his mother, and Karpis.
Nice.
However,
they
they soon relocated to Florida after Karpis became concerned that the money had not been adequately laundered.
Stupid mistake.
Yeah.
Should have stayed in Cuba. I don't know. What about Cuba?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Well, they could have spent American money in Cuba, though, right?
And be somewhat protected
even
from
even
the
if
killers.
Even if it's tracked, what are they going to do?
Right.
Cuba ain't extraditing nobody to the United States. So.
No, not at all. Well, anyway, they rented a lakeside property in Ocklawaha under the Ocklawaha in Florida, right? Under the pseudonym. They rented a lakeside property in Ocklawaha, under the name Blackburn, claiming to be a mother and sons wanting to vacation in country retreat. Like, we just want this to be in the country.
We just want to be in the country. We want to retreat here, and we're just having a little mother-son time.
Easily like that. We like it. Arthur soon left Florida, and he said, I'm going to Chicago. Karpis also moved on, leaving Fred and Ma in the house. They're like, gotta go, Fred. Ma, gotta go.
Ma! She's like, no.
No.
This is my retreat.
FBI agents caught up with them.
Uh-oh.
After Arthur was spotted and arrested in Chicago on the 8th of January, 1935.
Okay.
A map found in his possession indicated that the other gang members were in Ocklawaha, but did not identify the address.
So they know where the city that they're in is. So now I mean, come on, guys. You got to be smarter than that to carry around a damn map on your person of where the criminal association is.
And why would you go to Chicago, of all places? The FBI soon located the house at which they were staying after identifying references to a local alligator named Ojo. What the hell's a local alligator? Alligator hunter, probably?
No.
He's like alligator?
Alligator down there named Ojo.
Ojo the alligator. And questioned locals about newcomers. So they're asking anybody, like, hey, you've seen anybody who ain't been around? There is these.
They're down by that house by where Ojo goes.
There's Ma and their sons. Right. They're having a retreat.
Agents surrounded the house at 13250 East Highway C25 on the morning of January 16, 1935. Unknown to the FBI, Karpis and other gang members had left 3 days before, leaving only Fred and Ma in the house. While ordered to surrender, Fred opened fire.
Fred's like, I'm going out in the blaze of glory.
In the blaze of glory.
He threw on the boss, and the FBI agents retreated to a safe distance, but lobbed smoke bombs into the house.
Smoke bombs.
Gunfire continued to come from the house, and Fred and Ma apparently moved from room to room, obviously, as shots came from different windows. The FBI returned fire. Allegedly, many local people came to watch the events unfolding.
Jeez.
Even holding picnics during the gun.
Hold a picnic 15 minutes. They got time to set up sandwiches and...
Margaret, you got that picnic ready? We got to go. Did you want mustard? It doesn't matter. Yes, bring the mustard.
Go on, Cheryl, move your ass.
Oh, my goodness.
Picnics during the gun battle. What is this, the Civil War?
Right.
Jeez.
Wow. Gunfire ceased. Gunfire ceased coming from the house after 5 hours.
Oh, just 5 hours.
So after 5 hours, that's a lot of ammo.
So they're in a standoff, pretty much.
Right. The FBI ordered local East State. After 5 hours of this
standoff.
Right. The FBI ordered local estate handyman Willie Woodbury to enter the house wearing a bulletproof vest. His face is exposed. They're going to shoot him in the head. Woodbury reported that
they sent in an area handyman.
Right.
They sent in an area handyman to go in with these violent guys who just been had a shootout with each other, and they sent in this poor little schlub to go investigate. Like, what the hell?
Right. Well, anyway, he comes out of the house, said they're dead.
They're dead.
They're dead.
Well, both bodies were found in the same front bedroom. Fred Barker's body was riddled with bullets, but Ma appeared to have died from a single bullet wound.
Ooh, right to the face.
Killed herself.
All right.
Killed Fred, and then she was like, I ain't going out.
I ain't going out
without
like
you,
that.
Freddie.
Oh.
Well, a Thompson submachine gun was lying between the bodies of Ma and Fred. Their bodies were put on public display, and then there's...
How many times has a Tommy gun been found next to a dead body?
Right.
Dead gangster.
Dead gangster. Their bodies were put on public display and then stored unclaimed until October 1st, 1935, when relatives had them buried.
Wow.
At the Williams Timber Hill Cemetery in Welch, Oklahoma, next to the body of Herman Barker, who had died in 1927, another one of the sons.
So they sat there waiting. Well, that sucks.
What was this? This was in January?
January 16th.
So they sat there all the way into October?
Oh, my.
Jeez.
That's terrible.
Wow.
Just after Ma and Fred's death in the shootout with the FBI on January 16, 1935.
Jeez.
Karpis nearly met his own violent end when the FBI located him in Atlantic City. Karpis and Harry Campbell managed to shoot their way to an escape. Though Karpis' 8-month pregnant girlfriend Dolores Delaney was hit in the thigh by a wild shot fired by Campbell. Oh no!
Jeez, dude.
She was captured.
Girlfriend,
right?
Man.
And she was captured along with Campbell's girl.
Wow.
Both the women got captured while these guys fled.
Go away.
Wow. And Karpis left his child.
His baby mama.
Wow. Dolores gave birth to a son who was adopted by Karpis' parents.
Oh, good for him.
Well, at least he knows where it's at.
Right. Karpis and Campbell hid out with the brothel keeper Edith Berry for several months.
Nice.
Karpis continued his crimes with others, but had to keep on the move more than ever, as he was the fourth and last of the FBI's public enemy number one.
He's lasting a lot longer than everybody else.
Right. He did manage to pull off a crime that echoed the times of the Old West, which was a train robbery in Garrettsville, Ohio, which netted $27,000.
Sweet.
After the death of Matt and Fred,
they both
Karpis
died?
allegedly sent word to the FBI J. Edgar Hoover that he intended to kill Hoover with the same way Hoover had killed Matt and Fred.
Oh, no.
Well, according to Karpis and the Alvin Karpis story, the death threat was a rumor started by Hoover himself.
Oh.
He says, I never sent no letter to Hoover.
Right.
Hoover's trying to make himself out. We already know the history of Hoover.
Right.
And,
He's mad because the wrong Hoover became president.
Right. Since Prohibition and the way he's flopped a lot of stuff with the FBI so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
J. Edgar Hoover. The FBI had come a long way since its reorganization and renaming in 1935.
Right.
From the Bureau of Investigation created in 1908. So they're like, we're now the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
So they weren't even the FBI during all of this.
No,
they were the Bureau of Investigation.
they're the
but
BI.
we were calling it the FBI through the whole story.
Right, they're the B of I. Anyway, J. Edgar Hoover was appointed as the acting head of the Bureau in 1924 and completely transformed the agency to what we see it now in 1935. Despite its success, however, the agency had many problems.
Which we heard on last episode. I don't know why we're repeating this.
In those very days, when the application of science and technology to fight crime was still in its infancy, the agency was at the mercy of the public for information. They're like, we need information from you guys.
We need your help.
You want these guys off the streets? So do we. But we can't do that if we don't have your full cooperation.
Exactly.
Often agents on bad information were sent off to remote
Wow.
They're like, I think I seen him. I was fishing the other day.
He was down there in the swampland. Down there yonder.
So people that probably didn't like the FBI were like, yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, they're sending them off over on wild goose chases. Wild goose hunts, however you want to say it. I guess they called them red herrings back then.
Right. That was a bit red herring right there. It ain't what it is. The personal low point for Hoover, though, came in April in an April 1936 United States Senate hearing. Senator Kenneth McKellar of Tennessee lambasted Hoover for the performance of the FBI and the fact that lambasted him for the fact for the performance of the FBI and the fact that Hoover himself had never personally arrested anybody.
Anybody.
Well, after the hearing, a determined Hoover vowed he would capture Karpis personally.
Okay. You think he's gonna?
We'll see.
Hoover did not have to wait long. May 1st, 1936.
It was a month later.
Or weeks, we don't know.
Right, or day.
Right. Could have been April 30th.
Right.
May 1st, 1936, the FBI located Karpis in New Orleans. Hoover flew there to be in charge of the arrest. He was like, I got to.
I got it. It was like, this guy just lambasted me in front of everybody.
Like, I'm going to New Orleans. Shortly after 5 p.m. on the 2nd of May, as a dozen or so agents swarmed Karpis' car, Hoover announced to Karpis that he was under arrest.
Yeah.
A couple of versions of arrests have been reported.
So Hoover never did anything.
Still.
He couldn't have. After hearing under arrest. Yeah, a couple of the versions does have been reported because Karpis' version, which was told in his memoirs, was that Hoover came out only after all the other agents had seized him.
Of course he did.
Only then did the agents call to Hoover that it was safe to approach the car.
Obviously.
The official FBI version states that Hoover reached into the car and grabbed Karpis before he could reach a rifle in the back seat. Oh, FBI, you ain't fooling nobody. Get out of here.
I mean, Karpis has been telling the truth his whole autobiography. There's no reason to lie.
I mean, come on. Obviously, that's exactly what happened. Right. Ain't no way Edgar Hoover stopped him from getting a rifle in the back seat. Heck out of here. In fact, the car, a Plymouth Coupe, had no back seat. So.
Oh no! Oh no!
So he was in a car that had no back seat, and the FBI claims that he reached in the back seat.
Oh no!
Wow. Well, the scene was further confused when Hoover told his men to put the handcuffs on him. Not one agent had brought handcuffs. Oh my God!
Like, I thought we were killing him. Oh my goodness!
The FBI under J. Edgar is just a sham at this point.
Not kidding.
I don't understand how they made it.
Well, Karpis was tied up with an agent's necktie.
Oh my God!
He's like, "Agent, give me your tie."
They're going after a public enemy, the public enemy at this time.
Wow!
And they didn't come with any handcuffs, nothing. A necktie.
Are you serious?
Wow.
The capture of Karpis catapulted Hoover into the public eye and made his name synonymous with law enforcement until he died in 1972 at the age of 77. It's a false hero, this guy is.
Exactly.
He probably drank himself to a pity every night.
Hell, no.
Or he loved it.
Yeah, right. He was so egotistical that he loved all his name in the paper. You know it already, dude.
Ridiculous.
I mean, come on.
FBI. The capture of Karpis essentially ended the age of the big name Depression era criminals.
It did. The big name.
Right, the big names. But little did they know what was to become. In addition to those, Dillinger, Babyface Nelson, Machine Gun Kelly, Pretty Boy Floyd, and others killed violently in the 1930s included Jack Legs Diamond, Vincent Mad Dog Cole, Frank Jelly Nash, and Dutch Schultz. Al Capone was in Alcatraz and slowly going insane from syphilis.
He was at this time. He sure was. Well, Karpis was brought to trial at the St. Paul Federal Courts building, which is now the Landmark Center. Karpis initially pleaded not guilty, but as the case was called for trial, Thomas J. Newman, attorney for Karpis, told the court his client, one of the actual kidnappers of Ham, desired to plead guilty. 2 weeks later, Karpis offered through his attorney, Thomas Newman, to plead guilty to the Bremer conspiracy if kidnapping charges were dropped. The court accepted the offer. So they got the charge of kidnapping off.
It doesn't matter anyway.
It was a conspiracy to kidnap,
right?
Not actual kidnapping. So,
right.
Probably a lesser sentence. Not a lesser sentence, clearly.
After all that, Karpis was sentenced to life in prison. He was incarcerated at the recently constructed Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary from August 1936 to April 1962. For 6 months in 1958, he was transferred to the Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary, but was then returned to Alcatraz. His main job at Alcatraz, he baked.
He was a baker. Old Alvin the Baker.
Right.
He was far from a model prisoner, though, frequently fighting with other inmates.
He had to.
Karpis served the longest sentence of any prisoner at Alcatraz, which was 26 years.
Wow.
In April 1962, with Alcatraz in the process of being closed already in 62, he was transferred
I think they closed because them 3 guys that escaped.
I
think they closed after that, wasn't it?
Too expensive to run. It was on an island.
Right.
Well, he was transferred to another island, which was McNeil Island Penitentiary in Washington State. While at McNeil, Karpis met a young Charles Manson there.
Oh, really?
Good for
62?
him.
Manson was in prison in 62?
Yeah. He went to prison before he went to prison.
Really? Karpis wrote about Manson in his autobiography with Robert Livesey, 1980. This kid approaches me to request music lessons. He wants to learn guitar and become a music star. Little Charlie is so lazy and shiftless. I doubt if he'll put in the time required to learn. The youngster had been in institutions all his life. First orphanages, then reformatories, and finally, here we are.
Here we are here.
Federal prison. His mother, a prostitute, was never around to look after him. I decided it's time someone did something for this guy. And to my surprise, he does learn quick.
Good for him.
He has a pleasant voice and a pleasing personality, although he's unusually meek and mild for a convict. He never has harsh word to say and is never involved in even an argument.
That's old Charlie.
Right? He's just a calm old guy, and his singing that's what got the women, right?
Right. Well, after Manson had become proficient on the guitar, he asked Karpis for help in getting a job playing in Las Vegas, and Karpis had contact with the nightclub and casinos owners there. He got him a job.
Nice.
Manson told him he would be bigger than the Beatles. Karpis decided to leave Manson on his own regarding his music career.
So, basically, Karpis is a reason for Manson. If Manson never learned how to play the guitar, how can he, woo his women to do whatever? He did it by singing.
It's true.
He did it by singing.
He even sang a song with the Beach Boys, didn't he?
I think so.
Or the Beach Boys covered one of his songs or did something with one of his songs.
Right? I thought he wrote a song or something. Anyway, Karpis was released on parole in 1969.
Look at that guy. Sentenced to life in prison and got released on parole. Look
Only
at
guy
Karpis.
that got to live.
Only one of the Public Enemy guys that get to live.
But they released him and then deported him to Canada. Although initially had difficulty obtaining Canadian passport credentials, having had his fingerprints removed.
That'll be a problem.
He settled in Montreal. He wrote his first memoirs in 1971, while another memoir book was published in 1980, 1 year after his death.
Okay.
And he was born in 1907.
Nice. Yeah. During his first book tour across Canada, he went on a book tour and everything. Look at this guy. He's famous now.
All right.
During his first book tour across Canada for Public Enemy #1 for McClellan and Stewart, which was published in the United States as the Alvin Karpis story.
I have to read
Karpis, who was looking more like an accountant than a gangster, still showed a dry sense of humor. In Edmonton, while shuffling Karpis between various interviews with the media, M&S book rep Ruth Bertelson made a stop at her bank. Asking Karpis if he wanted to come in with her, Karpis replied, "No, dear, you take care of the vault, I'll drive." Nice. She's like, "Oh, dear." Oh, dear. He became a mentor to her young son until the sociopathy of some of his advice to her child angered Mrs. Bertelson.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is what you need to do, kid."
Right. I mean, he's still got the mindset.
You need to go in guns a-blazing.
Right.
Just take all the money.
He was like, I had it with this Western hemisphere.
Yeah.
I'm going to Spain.
I'm gone.
He went to Spain in 1973, August 26, 1979. He died by what was originally ruled suicide, as sleeping pills were found by his body, but later was ruled death from natural causes. He probably couldn't sleep. And, some closer to the scene say foul play may have been involved.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do, right? Well, Robert Livesey, who co-wrote Karpis' 1979 book, said Karpis was not the type to commit suicide. Livesey said Karpis was a survivor. I'm a survivor, not gonna give up. He had served 33 years in prison, and he's surviving. He served 33 years in prison just to kill himself?
Right.
Who does that? And also stated Karpis was anticipating the publication of the book. Right. Livesey believed Karpis had been introduced to pills and alcohol by his last girlfriend, Nancy, to give a relaxing high. Perhaps Karpis accidentally overindulged on one occasion with fatal consequences.
Wow.
No autopsy was performed, and Karpis was buried the next day in Spain. So he didn't even go back to his homeland. He just got buried in Spain right there.
Wow. Karpis has been described as the leader or brains of the gang. Gang member Fred Hunter said Karpis was super smart.
Super smart.
He was super smart.
He was super smart.
He was super smart. And it was reported to have a photographic memory. This guy remembered everything. I mean, down to a T. There's no way.
Everything.
He could tell you that's why they're probably so good at bank robbery.
Right. I know this.
Right.
This is here. Security guards here. Vaults here. Tellers here. This is how you get in here?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, a myth was started that Barker ruled the gang with an iron fist, but the facts do not seem to support these claims. It is highly unlikely that the criminals...
She did. Ma was part of it, but she kept the boys in line.
Well, it's highly unlikely that criminals as adept as Karpis, and even Ma's son for that matter, would have listened to her. Karpis later wrote about the subject in his memoirs. He said, Ma was always somebody in our lives. Love didn't enter into it, really. She was somebody we looked after and took with us when we moved city to city, hideout to hideout. It is no insult to Ma's memory that she just didn't know. She didn't have the know-how to direct us on a robbery.
Right. She
didn't know on a robbery. Well, it would not have occurred to her to get involved in our business, and we always made it a point of only discussing our scores when Ma wasn't around.
Right.
We'd leave her at home when we were arranging a job, or we'd send her to a movie. Ma saw a lot of movies. She was just there, man. She was the
but I bet
she was the matriarch of the gang family.
But I bet if you got out of line inside the house, well,
obviously she knew what they were doing.
Right.
She cooked their meals. She made sure they were clothed, fed, all that.
But she was still
the woman of the house.
She was still the boss. So
I doubt it.
Not the boss of the criminal organization, but she was the boss of the family.
She was the boss of the sons.
Right, of the family.
No,
of that household.
Of the sons.
Right, of that household right there. I believe so.
She was a homemaker is what she was.
Right.
That's pretty it.
Harvey Bailey, another well-known bank robber of the era, knew the Barker gang very well. And in his autobiography, published in the 70s, he agreed with Karpis, observing that Ma couldn't plan breakfast.
So she couldn't even cook either. I mean, jeez, what are you good for, man?
They're like, so Harvey, was she a major part? Man, that woman couldn't plan breakfast, and was certainly no mastermind behind any gang activity.
See.
It is purported that Ma Barker's entire reputation as a criminal mastermind was concocted by Hoover to protect the FBI's public image after federal agents discovered they had killed a 62-year-old mother.
And so here it goes. We end another story that involves the FBI and them hiding or covering up something to make themselves look better and not have public outrage. Because who's going to like the FBI after this? You guys killed a 62-year-old mother she was just there.
Right.
She did nothing, had no part in the criminal world, did nothing, not committed one robbery, but you gunned her down in cold blood. Wow. The FBI. We need to do a whole show on the incompetence of the early FBI.
Right.
From the 20s to now, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
A lot.
And with that being said, that's the last
public enemy
of the public enemy in the public enemy era. But don't fret, we're not done with the 30s yet, because you just heard some names in this episode that we'll be covering, and there's a lot more than that. We still got a lot of 1930s to go,
and a lot more stupidity by the FBI.
yeah, exactly. A lot more stupidity by the FBI, and we'll probably see that coming up in the Mafia
episodes
I would have to say, that are coming up too.
In the beginning, I was impressed by how smart these guys were, and then it fizzled. And then it just broke apart like fast. I don't get it. How can you be so smart at one moment and then next you're dumb? Dumb as a box of rocks.
It fizzled pretty fast. Wow. When you kill somebody and you know this guy has all the aliases, all the names of everybody that's in your gang, and then now they're like, we're just gonna kill him and leave him on the concrete outside.
Wow.
Idiots.
Wow.
Hey, guys, I think we made it through this episode with only saying one F-bomb.
Right.
Thanks, dang.
And really, the only curse word it was said was
shit.
Yeah, shit, which is not a curse word, man.
Right. So how's that for you guys?
Hey.
Without, we didn't need to use swear words as
but
adjectives.
It makes it better.
It does.
Makes it better.
I swear, it didn't feel right without. Right. Didn't feel right without swear words.
I feel like a fraud. I can't express myself freely. My First Amendment rights have been...
You're asking me to not be me. How am I supposed to do this?
Right.
Under the pressure of no swear words. Well, we did it, except for one.
Which can be cut out.
Yeah. But, we're back next week for... I don't even know, because I have to do some research and see who the next worthy recipient of an episode is going to be. So either or, it's going to be somebody that did some crimes and killed some people and went to jail probably.
Right, most likely.
So, we'll back next week for that.
I'm sure they made a lot of money during that process.
If you guys are looking for F-bombs and swear words. And
there's plenty of them over there.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff like that. You guys can go check out our other show, The Bang and Dang Show, available wherever you get your podcasts, where we talk about movies, news, politics, sports, music, anything and everything, whatever we feel like talking about at that moment. This last episode that you guys, it might be out by now. Whole 2-hour debate, almost 2-hour debate on the Titanic and the conspiracies surrounding that.
We learned together.
And the Federal Reserve.
We learned together.
So, over there on the Bang Dang Show. And if you guys are wrestling fans, we have the Monday Night Watch Along.
Who really won the war?
Who really won the Monday Night War?
We will tell you.
The Monday Night Watch Along, we watched the main events of every Raw and Nitro from the inception of Nitro, and we decide who we think won the war. And so far, WCW.
So far, by a huge margin.
Get the vaccine. Listen. WCW's winning. We'll be back next week. We're the Mouth of Michiganders with
Bang Dang!